Okay, colleagues, Fergus Whelan, Industrial Officer, is going to introduce the report on social protection and living standards, Section 6.
Okay, delegates, this section deals with the case for social investments, the threat posed by the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, changes to social welfare pensions, and the Congress response to those changes, and the case for decent childcare. But first I want to say a few words about the catastrophe that has overtaken our defined benefit pension system. Members of funded pension schemes have paid £100 million in regulation fees over the last 20 years. Yet our defined benefit system lies in ruins. The active membership is down to 137,000 from a peak of 270,000. And of the schemes that still are going, 90% of them are closed to new members. Almost all of them will pay benefits and entitlements much less than our members actually earned and paid for. Very few schemes now have provision for increases to pensions and payments. This means that for your average defined benefit pensioner today, their pension will have devalued by 50% over the next 20 years, and that's just with low levels of inflation. Now, defined benefit schemes have suffered all over the world, but we're of the view that the losses suffered by Irish workers in our defined benefit schemes has been much greater than anywhere else. And yet the regulator continues to apply the same old ineffective and pointless rules as if nothing of consequence can be learned from this debacle. The recent changes in the makeup of the Pensions Authority, and indeed the new interdepartmental group on universal pensions, the makeup of it suggests that a well-pensioned elite who don't suffer when things go wrong with funded pension schemes will have all the say in pension policy going forward, and the people who have no say are the workers who actually own the money in these pension funds and are the people who stand to lose when things go wrong. Our pension regulator will continue to behave as if the system is okay and there's no real problem. Our members should fear that when this interdepartmental group report, what they will try to deliver is a pension system where the workers carry the risk, take the losses, the pension companies take the profits, the pension elite and the politicians take the decisions, and the trustees take the blame. One of the meanest cuts of all the mean cuts that happened to us over the last while was what happened in relation to qualification for the old age pension. With the stroke of a pen, a decision was made that people who had less than 29 annual contributions, their pension would be cut by £1,500 per annum, and obviously that's for life. Now, when that outrageous cut was first suggested, Congress pointed out that this was an anti-woman thing, that this was something that was going to disproportionately fall on women, and how right we were. Because in the first year of its operation, 66% of men qualified for the full old age pension, and only 36% of women qualified for it. And just to put that in another way, 200 men suffered a cut of £1,500 per annum, whereas 563 women suffered it, and that's just in its first year of operation. And you can be sure that as this thing goes on and on, that proportion will remain the same, and the anti-woman worker aspect of this thing will become clearer as time goes on. As you know, the state pension age rose to 66 in 2014, will rise to 67 in 2021 and 68 in 2028. Now, there was no political debate about this. There was no cost-benefit analysis. There was no discussion with employers and unions about the issues the General Secretary raised with the Taoiseach today. What do we do with people when they reach 65 and they're thrown onto the scrap heap and they won't have a pension for another 3 years? And some people, depending on your age, some people will lose, by that decision, they will lose 36,000 euro. Now, this isn't 36,000 euro of a handout that they're losing. These people and their employer would have paid huge amounts of PRSI over their whole career for these pensions. So these pensions are not a handout. These pensions were something earned and paid for, and now they've in effect been stolen. And the people who made the decision, that is the senior civil servants and the veteran politicians, it doesn't affect them at all. They won't be working till 68, or they won't be waiting till 68 for their pensions. They get their big, fat, non-PRSI pensions up front at an age much earlier than 68. I was stunned when the Taoiseach told us today that the PRSI system was in balance, because all the information I had up to now that this was far from the case. And in fact, the justification for the cuts that I've just talked about, where, look, the PRSI system is in bits, we just can't afford it. Well, I just ask you, delegates, to cast your mind back to the OPATSI delegate and the UCAT delegate, what they told you this morning. Because the revenue commissioners themselves have designed an ECT system, which is basically a massive system to defraud the state of PRSI in the construction industry. And the construction employers and the bogus subcontractors are using that system for a massive PRSI fraud that's actually been aided and abetted, if not facilitated, by the state. Finally, delegates, I intended to say something about childcare, and particularly that savage cut on lone worker parents. But after the cogent testimony of Freddie Hughes from the INO this morning, there's nothing I could say that would add to it, except I would recommend Tom Healy from Neary has been blogging on the labour activation element of that, and I would strongly recommend you consult that blog. Thank you, delegates.
Okay, thanks, Fergus, for that